Go ahead.
Happy birthday, Shalom. Today's shir is dedicated in honor of Sholom Zeines. His birthday is 45th birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Chesam Aleph, we learned this yesterday, so it's Chazara. Ein bein hamuda hanoye mechaveiroi lemuda mimenu machal. So basically, a person could say, I don't want to have any hana from this person. Now, what the Mishnah is talking about is where a person says, he's basically making himself asar b'hana by saying, I don't want anything to do with this guy. But he's saying more than that. He's saying, I don't want to have any hana from him. And it's a strong thing because it's a nether. And once you make a nether, so like to get it taken off is a whole process. So just saying, I don't like this guy, I don't want to hang out with him, it's also not such a nice thing. But over here, he's saying, there's something called the isser hana, that you're making it on yourself, asar, to have hana from this person. So what the Mishnah is talking about is I'm saying Shmerel, I think the Rav said Beryl, I'm saying Shmerel, right? So he's saying Shmerel, I'm not going to have any hana from him. For whatever purpose, I'm not going to have any hana from him. So that's case A in the Mishnah. Case B is, I'm saying, I'm not going to have anything from his, any hana from his food. That's a whole separate thing. That's the two cases. One, so Ein bein hamuda hana mechaveiroi, lemuda mimenu machal. So case A, he's saying, I don't want to have any hana from this person whatsoever, and which makes it usher for him to have any hana. Case B is, I'm saying I don't want to have anything to do with Shmerel's food. I don't want any hana from his food. So what's the difference between these two cases? Zok the Mishnah, the difference is Drisas Haregal, A. When I say I don't want to have any hana from you,
Stepping foot on his property.
stepping foot on his property. Now we're talking about even like using it as a shortcut. So like let's say you walk through his property. If I'm saying I have no hana from this person, it's also for me to have hana. So even walking on his property will be a problem. The chelim, two is kelim she'ein oisa behen oichel nefesh. Right? So if he has a shovel and I needed to dig a hole, and I already called 811 before I dug, I can't use his shovel because it's a keli and I can have some hana from it, even though
It's not used for making food.
right. Even though you could argue that digging a hole is probably not much hana, but you might have some hana from the hole. So like
Getting rid of evidence.
right, getting rid of the evidence exactly. So these two things. So a keli that's not oichel nefesh would be okay, but if a keli is oichel nefesh, so even his food, if I'm saying I don't want to have any food hana from this person, right? Not like of course we all want to have hana from his food. We enjoy his food a lot. Thank you very much for showing up. We really appreciate it. Like
It's not shame.
So, by the way, you could stay. You know. Okay, so the thing, Drisas Aragon and Kalim that are not for Oichel Nefesh. Those are the two differences between somebody who says, I don't want to have any hana, I want to have Issa hana from this person, or I'm saying if I want to have Issa hana from food-related hana. Okay, Zok the Gemara. Hol any Kalim she'oisem behen Oichel Nefesh zavzav shav. So what's the deal? That Kalim, a grater, a peeler, his barbecue grill, even I can't use to make my own steak because it's still food hana.
Category of hana from his food.
For specific food hana. I said I don't want. Now I'm not sure what would lead a person to say this about somebody else. That I'm also from his food hana. You have to be so upset at somebody to say that I don't want to have even hana from him. That's for a different time, I guess. Drisas Haregal. So Drisas Haregal, we go setting foot on somebody's property. Zok the Gemara, halei kapti inshi. Even though people aren't makbid that you shouldn't walk on my property. We're not talking about people who have really nice grass that that some people are makbid on, but we're talking about that people are not makbid on the type of thing. So the Gemara is asking about halakha entry, like people aren't with it. Why would that be a problem? Amar Rava Hamani. Rava says, so who is the mandamar for the Mishnah that's saying that that it would still be a problem? Drisas Haregal. Rabbi Lezer, it's Rabbi Lezer the Amar. Vitter Asar b'mudahana. Rabbi Lezer says that even vitter, even gratuities, even a tip. You can't give a tip, even though it would be a regular thing, but you can't give a tip because the person is also hana, so they can't even take something that they would otherwise take because they have issa hana. From once it's issa hana, so they can't do it. Next Mishnah. Ein bein nedarim and nedavos. There's no difference between nedarim and nedavos. It's important to know the difference between nedarim and nedavos because whenever we hear Yankee on Matzah Shabbos saying, don't forget your nedarim and nedavos, and I'm like trying to figure out, if it's a neder or a nedava. So what's the real difference? The Gemara is going to discuss what a neder is and what a nedava is. So if somebody makes a neder, he's chayav to replace it if something happens to it. Let's say he says,
guarantor.
Yeah. So let's say he says this animal is going to be a carbon. So if I say this animal is going to become a carbon, if something happens to this animal and now I can't, so then that's what the going to do. No, if he says this animal and then something happens to this animal, so then you don't have it. If he says Harei alai oila, if he says I am giving an oila, so if somebody says I'm giving an oila, so then it doesn't matter if the animal you were about to bring, something happens, and then you have to replace it. An adava ein chai b'chrusan. If I say this box of tissues It doesn't have a sticker. No, if it has a sticker, then somebody already gave it, right? So if I say this box of tissue happens to be mine, I'm giving to the shul, right? So now, if something happens to this box of tissues that, and it becomes obsolete or whatever, I can't give it anymore, so then that's it. If I say I'm giving the shul 10 boxes of tissues, so I could be coming from my car and I drop it into a puddle and all becomes destroyed, I still didn't bring it to the shul, so I still owe it. That's the difference between a neder and a dava, which we're going to learn now.
So if it does,
Yeah.
So we're discussing the Mishnah, the difference between nedarim and nedavos, that the nedarim you chayev to replace them, you chayev the achrayas, to replace them if something happens to them. And in nedava, if I say I'm giving this animal for a carbon, then something happens to this animal, it becomes possible or becomes obsolete, so then, or it gets lost, so then I'm not chayev. So ein bain, so there's no difference that we learned in the Mishnah, right? So there's no between nedarim and nedavos, except that nedarim you chayiv in achrayas, and nedavos you're not. Hal le'inyan bal ta'acher, but le'inyan bal ta'acher. Bal ta'acher is when you say you're going to bring a carbon. There's a specific set time for each carbon, how long you have to bring the carbon, and if it's after that, then you're over of loisa acher l'shalmei. That when you make a pledge, you have to pay it right away, and there's a specific time set for that pledge. So you're over bal ta'acher if you go past that time. But le'inyan bal ta'acher zeh shavin. So either an adava or a neder. If I say I'm going to give this oila to a carbon, or this animal for an oila, or if I say I'm going to give an oila, so either way, you would both the same way be over bal ta'acher if you take too long to do it. Tanan Hasam, we learned in the Mishnah, Eizehu neder. What is considered a neder? Ha'omer harei alai oila. The person says, on me is an oila. I'm giving an oila.
Right.
I'm donating an oila to the Beis Mikdash. Eize nedava. So what's considered a nedava? Ha'omer harei zu oila. Somebody who says this animal is a oila. Uma bein nedarim and nedavos. So what's the difference between nedarim and nedavos? Nedarim meisu and nignavu ay avdu chayev ba'achriyusa. Right. So a neder, if somebody says, I'm giving a neder. So if it dies or it gets stolen or it gets lost, he's chayev to replace it because he says I am giving a carbon. I'm giving an oil. It's on me. It's not on. It's on the gavra, not on the chepza. Nedavos meisu.
This particular animal is a neder.
Right.
And they also have to replace it, or doesn't?
No.
No, if I say this specific animal and something happens to it, but if I say I'm giving an oila,
No,
so
even if it's a neder, right?
It depends what the nether is on. Is the nether on the body or the nether is on the device?
right. So nedava is harezu
If
oila.
you're a personal guarantor, then if something happens to the animal or whatever it may be, got stolen overnight, you still have to bring one.
This particular animal is a neder. This particular animal will be a oila.
No, a neder is I say I'm giving an oila.
Oh, no.
I'm giving
this
an oila.
particular animal is going to go.
Right. Then it will be a nedava. This specific animal will be a nedava. Mino animili. From where do we know this? The Tan Rabbanim. We learned in the Brisa. The nirtza loy, and it was nirtza for him, l'chaper alav, to forgive him, to forgive for his sins. The nirtza, it was wanted. Rabbi Shimon Omer, es she'alav, that which is on him, chayev b'achriyusa. It's chayev achrayus. It's chayev to guarantee it. It's chayev to replace it. And if it's not on him, in other words, if he said on this animal, so then it wouldn't be chayev b'achrayus. My mashma, what do we learn from this? Amr Rabbi Yitzchak, Baravdimi, Kiva, the Amr Alai. Since he says on me, Kemandaton Akasvedomi. Once he says it's on me, so he's taking on himself to replace it. So it doesn't matter if this one that I wanted to give is here or not there.